It is the final day of Wood Elf Week. We've had plenty of different variety of content in here, mostly focused on the competitive stuff, as this channel is wont to be. But why not try and do something that is objectively a little bit less competitive, but is a lot more fun and very requested? So I'm still going to try and make this as good as possible, but I wanted to have a look at how to build the new detachment rules, and specifically the Wood Elf forest spirit detachments as well. So we're gonna start off with the forest spirits. That's the one I'm most excited to see, but then I will have a quick look at the other two detachments as well. What is this website, you might be asking? Well, normally I use Old World Builder. I think it is more easily readable on the screen when I'm doing, streamed content. However, this is New Recruit, a website that has been updated to have the new Wood Elf rules, so well done to them, really hot off the mark. Thank you to Tiedemann for getting that sorted, and also apologies, because he did message me asking if I had a copy of the rules, and I completely forgot to respond to him, so apologies there. But we are up and running, and if you haven't already used it, New Recruit does have integration with Warhol, so you can just take your lists directly from there, import them into Warhol, as long as you're a paid member of Warhol. So what does the host of Taliesin bring? Well, if we have a quick look at the army composition, you can see here, if we're going specifically forest spirits, this is not limited in any way that matters. You can still take the Treemen Ancients, you can still take the Dryads, you can still take the Treekin, you can still take the Treemen. Hey, that's all of our units. Oh, sorry, Branch Wraiths as well. So, you're not limited there. This is fine. We can just do the same stuff. We may as well go with this detachment because it gives us some additional rules. We get hatred against Beastmen Brayherds, which is nice and fluffy. We get the new Law of Magic without having to take the magic item, but also it means our forest spirits can take the new Law of Magic if we want to go with that. We also get this ability here, Protectors of the Ancient Wood. If you're controlling a special feature, you reroll hits and wounds of 1 in combat. Now, special features aren't going to come up all the time, but if they do come up, that's cool. And then finally, the Awakened Wood. Your Dryads and Treekin can have ambushes for +1 point per model. Treemen and Treemen Ancients can have ambushes at 10 points per model. Am I going to use this? I have no idea. We'll find out, I guess. We'll puzzle this one out together. Alright, back to the list. Both the Grand Army and the Host of Taliesin do require you to take some sort of core unit, 5 Eternal Guard or 5 Glade Guard. There's no getting around it. We're going to have to take them. So they're just going to be here. We may end up upgrading them a little bit, but we'll work on that in a second. What do we want to go for in this list? Well, I think it makes sense to start off with our general being a Treemen Ancient. This is, I'm not sure if we're going to go for Glade Lords, because they don't feel very forest spirited at all. We could do that, but it would just be, taking something that's good. Maybe I feel okay putting a stag in there. Maybe we do a couple of different versions. But in this version of the list, we're going to make the Treemen Ancient the general. It's got a leadership 10 bubble. It's a large target, so that's got an 18-inch bubble there. Yes, that does mean that you might fall over. You might get shot to pieces, but we're dealing with what we've got here. Got limited choices. We have got some options here in terms of spell lore, and I think going for level 4 makes sense. So Lore of the Wild, this is interesting. So we could make it so that we're better against poison shooting. For this model, I actually quite like it because you can. It's a large target with only a 4-up save and a 5-up regen. You don't have a ward save inherently. This would turn off poison shooting effectively. All 6s to hit in the shooting phase have to reroll to hit you. I don't think this is enough to make me take the lore, but it's interesting. It does come with a good magic missile. It comes with a interesting magical vortex, which is not good enough to take the lore on its own, but you're not upset to see it. It's got a decent, albeit conditional, assailment spell in Durthu's Wrath. And then we have got Hidden Pathways, which is really nice, giving you reserve move and quick turn. As far as I'm aware, quick turn, which is just the ability to do an open order pivot at the end of your move, I believe that stacks with lumbering, I think. So I think you just get to do 2 pivots, which means you can go further than the 90 degrees you're normally able to do. So maybe that's interesting here. And then we've got Sapping Blight. This is actually quite good as a hex. So the problem is you can't cast it when you're engaged in combat because you are, a wizard. You can't cast it in combat unless it specifically is a ranged self spell. But you could cast this, which would be -D3 to strength characteristic of the enemy unit that's going to try and charge you. I don't think this is enough to sort of pass the bar just on the basis of you do it before you move. It's a 12-inch range hex, so you do it before you move. It's only 12-inch range. So if you walk towards your opponent at all, or even if you don't walk towards them, they could be 13 inches away and they can charge you next turn. This is a little bit difficult. So Lore of the Wilds is on the docket. It's definitely something we can consider doing. However, if we're taking a Lore of the Wilds caster outside of the Treeman Ancient, we could just cast Hidden Pathways on them anyway. So maybe that's enough to kind of just get past there. I think Battle Magic and Elementalism are the two that make the most sense to me. So to talk through Battle Magic on a Treeman Ancient, you've got, first of all, Oaken Shield. You can give yourself a 5-up ward against any wounds suffered, so you become a 4-up armor save, 5-up ward, 5-up regen model. You've got Arcane Urgency. Treemen are slow. They do come in at a base 5-inch move, which is, if you look at the stat line up here, 5-inch move, weapon skill 5, strength 5, T6, 6 wounds. So they're relatively beefy, but they're really, really slow. So something that you can play around with is Arcane Urgency here to give you the move, then move again. Other than that, Hammerhand's nice because you do really suffer in combat. You've only got 3 attacks, which is terrible. You also get 2d3 strength for hits at AP2. That's okay, and it's a very easy spell to cast, so you mostly just need to worry about being dispelled. I think I prefer Elementalism here. So Battle Magic is genuinely quite good on a Treeman Ancient. But Elementalism, you've got this spell here. You can go, and again, I'm probably not swapping into the Hex, but it is an option. You can give them -1 to movement and initiative, which stacks nicely with your Tree Whack ability, where you lose one of your attacks. A single enemy model you nominate takes an initiative test. If they fail the initiative test, they take D3 automatic hits at your strength, ignoring armor saves. So dropping their initiative is nice. It's okay. Flaming Sword is not good, but if you roll it, you're just like, okay, I've got some additional low impact hits which do something. Plague of Rust is really nice, not necessarily for this model because you come with AP2 on your attacks and stomps, but you're able to debuff your enemies if you've got Dryads or Treekin, so that's a really nice spell to give those models effectively AP2. Summon Elemental Spirits, pretty much on par with the new Vortex that comes in Lore of the Wilds. Again, it moves in a random direction, but it's got a good cast range, and it doesn't hit allied models, so that's pretty decent. Earthen Rampart's really nice on the Treeman. You can't cast it if you're in combat. You can't cast it if you are wanting to charge, so there is a downside there. But if your opponent charges you, they lose their initiative bonus because you are behind a low linear obstacle if charged, and you've got a 5-up ward save. Wind Blast is good. It's given how slow you are, being able to just push your opponent back a little bit can be quite nice. And then you've also got Travel Mystical Pathways as well. So this is the main thing that I see. You're able to teleport yourself around instead of just moving 5 inches or marching 10 inches and not being able to cast your damage spells if you roll them. You can teleport 12 inches, which, assuming you're not playing comped TMP, just using the rules as written, because the base size isn't huge on a Treeman. What is the base size, in fact? I think it's a 60 mil square? No, 50 by 75. So effectively, if you go from your back left corner and you teleport diagonally to the right, you gain an extra 3.5 inches of movement effectively. So you can put the back of your base to the front of the front of your base to the back of the base. You can be something like 15.5 inches away from where you started off, which is pretty solid, and it's a lot of maneuverability there. So Treeman Ancient, we're going to start off with Elementalism. Do we want a second one of these? Maybe not. We'll come back and see. I want one for the Leadership 10, and the Elementalism is just a really good lore to have. I'm not sure I'm bothered enough to take a second one. We'll see. We'll come back to it. Maybe we just go like Toughness 6 spam, and we see how our opponent can deal with that. Into core, we're going Dryads. So Dryads, I think, let's start off with units of 8. And I normally wouldn't, but these are pretty cheap units. They're 104 points. They're relatively fast moving. They're an elf unit, so they come in at movement 4. They're not incredible on the front line, but they're pretty good if they come in on the back line. They're cheap enough that you don't care if they don't come in on the turn you want them to. They're relatively tanky, so your opponent has to actually dedicate damage to them. I think we maybe go 3 units of 8 with ambushes. You don't have to use ambush as a rule if you don't want to, but it's on there, and you're able to put them in the back line or use them to lower the number of drops you have. This list is something that I think we could probably get away with going with 4 or 5 drops, which means that we're going to be getting the +1 to go first. I think that's probably quite important for this list. You want to close the gap with the enemy as soon as possible, because I think we're going to have less range damage than most enemy armies. So, triple Dryads here. Then, we've got a unit of Eternal Guard that we have to take. We could just keep these super cheap and go 5 with Spears and Shields. I think because this is core points, and you've got to spend 500 points, and we've got to take this unit anyway, and we're kind of struggling for ranged output. Let's do the thing I was talking about on, I want to say it was the deep dive with Nick. So you've got the Ruby Ring of Ruin here, and that gives you a magic missile. It's not a great place to put it, but because we're going for a themed army, we're not necessarily looking at running, the normal level 2 or level 4 in a unit of Glade Riders that runs around, and you can't in this detachment anyway. So we're going to go 5 with a Ruby Ring of Ruin, and what else can we give them? Because we do still have 60 or 59 points in this in core to fill. I don't really want to buff up the number of Dryads. They're a little expensive to do so. So maybe we just buff up the number of Eternal Guards so they don't immediately die. What if I went 8 with Veteran? How many points does that give us? 8 with Veteran is 155 points. That is expensive. Okay, that's fine though. And how do we want to wrap this up? Is there anything else we want to give them? Is there a 10-point item that I want to give him to get him over the line? Not particularly. I don't think there's anything in here that's super exciting. We could go Standard Bearer Musician, but that would just be giving up more points to our opponent when they manage to kill them. I'd give them Drilled, but that would put us at 1 point shy of getting across the line here, so that's annoying. I don't really want to drop shields off them, because I could drop shields off them, and no, that doesn't work either. We've got a unit champion already, so maybe we just go a pair of these with nymphs, and then if we're using them to tie up enemy characters, we've got some ability to do so there, and it's the cheapest way to get our core above that 500 points. So we're going to go with that for now, but we might come back and tweak it. Maybe we'll see. This is probably fine for what we're running. So we've got 4 units of 8 here. 1 is our pseudo-ranged unit with the Ruby Ring of Ruin, but they're also relatively tanky. They've got veterans, so they're unlikely to run away, and they're firing a magic missile with their 5-up armor save from the light armor shield. That is okay. And then we've got rare and special. So the obvious thing to do is go Treeman. Let's just double check on here. If we have a look, you've just got uncapped tree men and effectively uncapped tree kin at 2,000 points. So I don't think this is the way I want to go, but we could go triple tree man. So let's just see how that leaves us. So that would still leave us with 500 points. We could go for another wizard, make one of these not the general. That's vaguely compelling in that we've got 5 treemen here. Is this the way that we want to take the list, though? I don't think it is. I think no for now. Let's leave 1 in. Do we want to give it ambushes? Probably not. I think this is a very expensive model to have as ambushes. And also, yes, you can come in where you want to, but they are a slow-moving model. So you could come in, then walk 5 inches, because you can't march the turn you come in from combat, from the board edge. And then your opponent could just run away from you. You know, if you're playing against something fast, that treeman's never going to actually get into, battle in an effective way. So let's just assume we're not doing that. Eagles as well. Eagles. Do eagles count as forest spirits? I know they're not, but they're natural creatures. I'm interested to hear your opinion on this one. Let me know in the comments if you think that a great eagle counts. You'd be happy to see a great eagle in a forest spirits list. I guess if we're going down that line, we could just put a noble on a dragon, which feels a little bit like cheating, because the forest dragon is a forest creature, or even just a character on a stag. So maybe we just leave that for now. Okay, so we're going to go with a single tree man ancient. We've got a single tree man in here, but we may go up or down on that. I love Treekin. I talked about this I think it was on the tier list stream. Treekin are my favourite unit in fantasy, just across all of time. I love these units. I love these models. I love thematically what they are. I, as a person, just tend to default towards liking high toughness, tanky bricks and asking my opponent to deal with me, but that doesn't work super well when you're playing into good players, because then they'll just have a plan for going around you and ignoring you. But that's fine. I still want to include them. So Treekin are solid. They are, movement 5, which is a little slow for monstrous infantry, honestly. But they're T5 here with heavy armor, a 5-up regen, and 3 wounds. They are really tanky as monstrous infantry go. They don't do much damage is the issue. They've got 3 attacks with a decent weapon skill. So weapon skill 4, again, coming into being a good defensive profile. But they also only have 3 attacks with Armor Bane and hand weapons. So comboing them with Elementalism for the Plague of Rust is really nice. I think if we're going Treekin, I want to put the Spellweaver in. And the Spellweaver, we're going to go with the Glamourweave Kindred. This does make you a Forest Spirit here. So the Tree Spirit, sorry. So I'm counting this. This definitely counts. If you disagree with me, then you're not a real Forest Spirit enjoyer. I'm putting my gauntlet down. So let's go with the build that I've been sort of talking about, where you go on a Unicorn. You've got the ward save built in from the Glamourweave Kindred. It's super cheap for what it gives you. It's great. We're going Lore of the Wilds here, and we're going to go Lore Familiar and a couple of Power Scrolls, because we're really leaning on that Durthu's Wrath. Given that we're doing that, let's also go Forest Spirits, Befuddlement of Mischiefs. This is great. This is the -1 to weapon skill initiative, so a single unit you're in combat with, which means that your Durthu's Wrath is going to be better. As a reminder, Durthu's Wrath is here. Each model in the fighting rank of an enemy unit that the caster is engaged with must immediately take an initiative test. If they fail that test, they take D3 strength 4 hits with no armor save permitted. You can take Warden Regens. Now, there is a little combo you can do, which I was thinking about earlier, actually. And that is, where is it? Is it an enchanted item? Or is it a talisman? Orion's Favor. Single use, the bearer of Orion's Favor can reroll any failed rolls to hit and or wound made during the combat phase. That's pretty spicy. That is, that will work with your spell, because you're making them take the strength 4 auto hits with Durthu's Wrath. You might find that you just get to say, I think technically the way it works is each model takes an initiative test, and then if they fail, you do the hits one by one. I think everyone's just going to roll them out at speed, because otherwise it's going to take too long. But yeah, you just get to reroll a lot of strength 4 hits, which if you're going into something with high initiative but low initiative but high toughness, so like a Shabti, that might be quite nice as well. Yeah, I think that's interesting, and it puts us at how many points in magic items? 95 with double Power Scroll. So I think this works well, and it's going to go with the unit of Treekin. Okay, so we've got a level 4 Elementalism, we've got a level 4 that's going with the Treekin. I think 4 is enough. I think any bigger than that starts to get a little bit unwieldy, unless we go 6, because we could go, instead of going 4 wide with a Unicorn on the side, we could go 3 wide and 2 deep. I don't think you really care about ranks with Treekin, so that would just be more wounds for wounds' sake. And I think 12 wounds is probably enough to keep this unit relatively safe outside of playing against dragons. To be clear, this I don't think you can do Forest Spirits to beat the things that are incredible in the meta. So I don't think you can just beat, Warriors of Chaos with a dragon and a Warpfire dragon and loads of Chaos Knights. But I think this is interesting. At the very least, I think this is interesting. So, yeah, these two are good. This leaves us with 400 points, or just shy of 400 points. What do we want to do with that? It's not enough for 2 treatment, but if we made some cuts, we could fit... Let's see how this looks if we make some cuts with 2 treatment. We need to shave 45 points. So the general here has no upgrades, because you can't take magic items, you can only take forest sprites, and they're kind of whatever. The Treekin, I do not want to go down to 3, 4 is the minimum I'd want to go. Triple Treeman here, Treeman Ancient. Let's go with... I'd have to drop... I think this just... Oh, I mean, I could drop Orion's Favor and a Power Scroll. And that would get us to a legal list. This is a legal tree forest spirit list. And this is pure true blue forest spirit. So maybe this is what we go for. Okay, so here's the 2,000 point list. Got the level 4 on Unicorn, Kindred of the Glamourweave Kindred, Befuddlement of Mischiefs, single Power Scroll, Lore Familiar. Just going to get that Dirthy's Wrath off at least once and do some big damage. Single Tree Man Ancient, level 4, General Elementalism. 3 units of Dryads, 2 with Nymphs, just for points. And then they all have ambushes in case you want to use it. And then we've got the unit of Eternal Guard, which is our magic missile bot. 4 Treekin for the Unicorn to join, and then triple Tree Men as well. So that's the pure forest spirit, which I think is probably not playable outside of a fun list. If you and your friends decide that you don't want to play the normal armies, like you don't want to play into Mortuary Cult, you don't want to play against dragons, and you're willing to play some toned down Old World, I think this would be a really fun list to play. So let's just duplicate it, and let's go Forest Spirits. Wait, how's this worked? Oh, okay, get rid of this. Delete Force, yeah. So let's do the same list, but let's make it as competitive as possible. So if I just go out to lists here, let's make a duplicate, Forest Spirits 1, and we're going to make this better. So now core I think is probably fine. I don't know that there's much here that we could do better. In fact, let's not do the Eternal Guard shenanigans if we're going super competitive. Let's go minimum with those. Let's drop off the nymphs. And then we can add Deepwood Scouts, so we're going to do that. And I understand that this isn't pure Forest Spirits, but I think it's still worth doing. And just to double check, you can still take 1 unit of Deepwood Scouts as core. So I think I'm okay with taking 1 unit in here, just to add a little bit of ranged damage and be a bit of an issue. So already I think we've made our core a bit better. We are 20 points over, but worst comes to worst, we can just drop a model off one of the Dryads. I still like the Treekin combo. I think I'm still interested in trying it in this sort of list, and 1 Treeman Ancient feels good here. But let's get rid of the Treeman. Is there anything that we want to put in instead? I think if we're willing to say that Lords on Stags are... there's no way we can fit a Lord on Dragon, and I don't love the Lord on Dragon anyway. But I think if we're willing to say that a Lord riding a forest creature counts, we can probably go down this line here. So we're going to go Talisman, we'll give you Talisman of Protection, Magic Weapons, we'll give you, let's just go straight for the Ogre Blade, and we'll give you a shield as well. And you're on a stag. I guess why not give you the Forest Sprite, which is an Annoyance of Netlings, so your opponent is -1 to hit you in challenges. You're still not going to beat a dragon, but you've got some real scope to mess around with them. This is not going to be character protected by anything, so we do need to make sure it's decent. Oh yes, almost forgot. Kindred aspect of the bear. And that gets you to toughness 5, which is probably enough to not have to worry. And then you also just sort of hide behind the Treekin and the other units here, potentially behind the Dryads if you line up. Okay, so we've still got 320 or 313 points. How do we make this list good while still being within this line? Is there anything that we can take that works out nicely here? I think going down the line that we were talking about, let's go for a couple of Eagles. Eagles are just a good utility piece. 60 points. I thought they were 65 for some reason. I guess they're just 60. Maybe it's High Elves that have them at 65. So they're a high weapon skill model. They are a monstrous creature, so they've got a 90-degree vision arc. Strength in T4 is not great, but it's pretty good for elves. 3 wounds, 3 attacks, that's important. One of them is a bite attack, strength AP0, strength user, so 4, AP0, armor bane 2, multiple wounds 2, and then 2 attacks with the AP2 claws, and you also get a stomp attack as well with no AP. But it's fast, it causes fly, it's a 10-inch, it causes fear, it's a 10-inch fly with Swift Stride model, so you can kind of just get it into the back lines pretty comfortably. And then I think 1 Tree Man in here is probably pretty okay. And then we just need to shave 22 points to make the list legal. So what if I went... I'm going to... this is slightly annoying. I need 7 points in here. Ooh, of course we do. that wouldn't actually work us out properly anyway. So let's go down to 7 here, and then I just need to shave something off points-wise. I guess we'll lose the Annoyance of Netlings. It's nice, but it's not the be-all and end-all. And we've got a few points, so we'll give this unit here a Musician, just in case they run away, which they are liable to do, because look at them. They have got Evasive and Fire and Flee, so they're probably running away. Not that you need to rally after Evasive, but, you know, is what it is. So yeah, this is probably the direction I'd go if I wanted to go Forest Spirit themed, but still a little bit more competitive. A couple of faster units in here. One of the things that you're going to struggle with Forest Spirits is how fast they are, or rather the lack of. A single Tree Man is still fine. It's relatively beefy. It's a decent anvil. You've got another one up here. This can cast a ward save on itself, or the unit of Treekin, or the Tree Man. This is still doing the silly combo with the Dirthu's Wrath, which I think is solid. I really do like it. I need to get some games in, but then the Glade Lord adds just another threat, and the Glade Lord's going to spend the early game sort of hiding behind something beefy here so it doesn't get shot off the board. And the Deepwood Scouts just give you a little bit of flexibility. They can deploy as scouts if you want to. They don't have to, but if you're playing, for example, on flank attack, where you don't get the +1 to go first, if you finish deploying first, or if you're not bothered about going second, and you know, if your opponent looks like they're going to leave a big gap in their backfield where you just want to drop 8 poison shooting models and cause some issues for them, I think this is solid. So 2 lists there, one more themed, one more fun, and then this one which is a little bit more competitive. I think I could probably take this to a tournament and get 3 wins with it. I think it's in that sort of probably similar to Troll Horde level of play, where you're just going to come up against things that you're going to struggle to beat, but against other lists or like unoptimized lists, you've got a lot of play, and it's actually kind of fast enough for a dragon to not pick up too many things. If you get Travel Mystical Pathways on this Tree Man Ancient, you can theoretically rescue your squads from danger if needs be. I'm also going to have a look here at a list for the Orion's Wild Hunt detachment. I think, in retrospect, we've done 2 for the Taliesin detachment. Yes, they are Forest Spirit themed, but I don't think it necessarily does much that the Grand Army doesn't, so I'm not going to write a specific list for that detachment. However, on to the Wild Hunt. What can we do with this? Well, let's have a look at the rules that we get. So if we go down to the Wild Hunt detachment, you are more limited. You can still only take 0 to 1 Glade Lord per 1,000 points. I think, given that we're not given wizards, I wouldn't be upset if we saw 2 Glade Lords per 1,000 points, or just uncapped Glade Lords. That would be cool. You can just go as many melee units as possible. We've got the special characters here capped at 1 per 1,000, and then Glade Captains. Into core, you can have 0 to 1 units of Wild Riders per 1,000 points. We're going to be using that for sure. Glade Riders as well, and then you can also take Sister of the Thorn, other various mounted units, and the Beast Packs, and then you've also got some Waystalkers, Great Eagles, and then Scouts and Rangers. So, what special rules do we get for being in the Wild Hunt? Well, you start off, your nobles can get Talismanic Tattoos, so for 10 points you can get a 6-up ward. It's fine. We may end up using it. I don't like it as a rule, but it's okay. Spirit of Kurnos, you can get Glade Riders, Warhawk Riders, and Beast Packs, 1 per 1,000 points, giving Furious Charge. I wonder if we need to re-look at the Beast Packs if we get them an additional attack. Is that good enough? I don't think it is, but let's have a think about it at the very least. It does give them Impetuous as well, but this is a full violence list, so don't worry about that too much. Worthy of Kurnos as well, you can get some additional points, and you get to reroll hit rolls of 1, shooting in combat against the nominated unit. So that's cool. That's quite nice. And also, if you did want to use your Bow of Kurnos rule that the Grand Army comes with, where before the game you get to shoot at, I think it's specifically their general, you make a single like Strength 4 hit at AP 1 or something terrible. I believe, oh no, it's in the shooting or combat phase, so you don't even get a buff to that terrible rule. No worries, it might have convinced you to use it when you shouldn't have done so. Let's just move around there. Okay, so let's have a quick look at the Beast Packs. So Beast Packs are interesting because... let me just put 1 of each. I know this isn't legal, but let's just have a look at the rules that we've got here. So, if we gave them Furious Charge, are there any Beast Packs that are compelling to play? So, the boars come in at 11 points per model. They only move 6, which is not very fast. They've got a bad weapon skill, but honestly, you're going to be hitting on 4s most of the time anyway. They are Strength 4. They would get a second attack here. Oh, wait, hold on. Do they come with Furious Charge already? Right, hold on. Sorry, let's go to the PDF, because this is not the easiest way to read things. I think boars might... Yeah, boars come with Furious Charge already. Okay, so buying Furious Charge for them doesn't do anything. How about the other ones? Furious Charge on a 20-point bear, but you can only take 1 per model. That's not compelling. You get up to a 3rd attack, and you still don't have good output. The Forest Cats, you can have 2 attacks at weapon skill 4. It's still only strength 3. It's still AP 0. It has got armor bane 1. I just think there's not enough here that even putting Furious Charge on them makes them compelling. So I think maybe we just ignore that. People have pointed out to me, though, that the Beast Pack are half decent because you can just go for an incredibly cheap 19-point unit where you go 1 Beastkeeper, 1 Deepwood Hound, it moves 9. It is in skirmish, so you can't do marching column shenanigans, but they are like cheap little annoying units. So we're just going to start off with 3 of those in the list. Let's go from there. Then, core, we're going to go Wild Riders. This is sort of just generically, obviously, going to happen. Let's start off with 6 with no upgrades and do that twice, and we'll come back to see if we want to add to them. I think we probably want to give them magic banners, and if we're going to attach characters, maybe we end up putting... well, we would definitely put unit champs in as well, and at that point you may as well go musicians. But right now, we're just going to start off here, and we probably want to go for 1 pseudo unit of Wild Riders, which is the Glade Riders. And if we go back up here, you can see that you get Spirit of Kurnos, 0-1 unit of Wild Glade Riders, Warhawk Riders, and Beast Packs. Per 1,000 points get Furious Charge and Impetuous. So let's give this unit the Spirit of Kurnos. And we're going to give them Drilled as well, because if it's a melee unit, you may as well. 8 is probably too many, so let's just start off with 6. And I don't know that we care about Enchanted Arrows. Do we want to give them... Is it True Flight that ignores cover? Ignores cover and quick shot. This is maybe not terrible, because this is a unit that wants to be in melee, but if we've got 6 points spare, we can put the True Flight arrows on them. We'll come back to that one. So this is probably roughly what our core is looking like. How are we filling out the rest of the points? I think, again, we're playing something that is a little bit like... We're trying to make it as competitive as possible, but we're going to struggle slightly against the good stuff, and this one specifically is going to struggle against Bretonnians. Now, this list is actually going to do okay into Dragon List, because we're going to put some spicy Glade Lords in, but... Let's just assume that if we play against Bretonnians, we're sad, and, you know, it is what it is. So we'll go a unit of Warhawk Riders. Now, Warhawk Riders are unbelievably squishy, but I want to try them. To be clear, I still don't think they're good. I think for this price point, they are too squishy. They're T4 with 2 wounds and no save at all, so they fall over immediately. However, let's go with... There is a new talisman. I think it's too many points to give them. There's a 30-point talisman that gives them magic resist, but they can only take 25 points. Okay, so let's go 5, and we're going to put a level 2 Spellsinger on a Warhawk into the unit as well. We're going to give this model level 2 high magic, because we're specifically going for Walk Between Worlds to give them Ethereal and Reserve move. Otherwise, you know, sucks to be us. We just have to die to magic missiles. This is a little bit of a numbo. So if you have Ethereal, you are on... if you've got... No, ignore me entirely. You can't cast this on the turn that you charge. In my head, it was an enchantment spell instead of a conveyance spell. So you would charge instead of rolling this. This is fine. I'm confusing myself. So with that in mind, what do we put on this model? Well, we definitely give them the Lore Familiar, and we give them a Power Scroll as well, because Walk Between Worlds, it casts on a 10. So you probably sit this unit behind terrain. The turn you come out, you cast this on them, and then you just go, all right, I've got 1 turn to get into position, and then I can potentially charge my opponent. And they'll be ethereal, so you don't have to worry about being charged in response too badly. Do we want to give them any aspect here? I don't know that we want to do that. We don't need to give them aspect to the boar. Aspect to the cat, absolutely not. Aspect to the hound, I guess, is good, because you're rerolling hit rolls of 1 in combat. And I can't use their leadership, but it's a level 2 Spellsinger, which means I've only got leadership 8, which is the same as the Warhawk Riders. Okay, so giving them reroll 1s to hit in combat is not bad, because... hold on, let's look at the wording on this. It doesn't apply to the models mount, the Kindreds, but do Kindreds apply to the unit in that way? Let's have a look. Yeah, so the benefits of the Kindred do not apply to the model's mount should it have one. However, any unit they've joined rerolls any natural rolls to hit for natural. Yeah, okay, so I think, weirdly, the Warhawk Rider character that we're taking here, if we take Aspect of the Hound, I think it's worth doing, because you're going to have the Warhawk Riders with 2 attacks each from their Furious Charge, with their Cav Spears, so Strength 4, AP 1, which is, like, aggressively whatever, it's okay. You're using them to pick off stuff in the back ranks, which maybe giving them Impetuous is bad, but we're going to play around with it. Giving this Aspect of the Hound doesn't apply specifically to the Warhawk that the spell series is riding, but it would apply to the Warhawk Riders, because the wording on this is it does not apply to the model's mount, and then here it just says the unit they have joined rerolls, hit rolls of 1. So anyway, what I'm saying is 5 of the 6 Warhawks are going to get rerolls of 1 to hit, which is, I think, a poorly written rule, but very funny, so you know what, that is what it is. So we've got a Spellsinger here. That is fantastic. And how do we want to support these units? Well, I think we want to go with 2 Glade Lords, and I really do like that build that I've been talking about. The aspect of the bear on a stag. Give him a Ogre Blade, Talisman of Protection, and this is just a beefy boy. He's gonna get in. He's relatively tanky. He can be screened by all of the cavalry that we're bringing in this list. Oh, give him a shield as well. And he's going to punch pretty hard. So given that he is the one that's probably hardest to interact with, and he could join the Glade Riders if I wanted to, the drilled Glade Riders, this is a good place to make this model of the general. In fact, oh, we've already made them drilled. Let's give this unit the Vanguard banner. Banner of the Hunter King. Gives the unit Vanguard. No, you know what? Sorry, I'm going to put that on one of the Wild Riders, because I think I want to get them up in the violence as soon as possible. So let's just go Hunter King here. Perfect. Great. So then we're going to go with the other Glade Lord, and this is the one that I've mentioned. Again, shout out to Ors, who is the first person that I saw talking about it, although I'm sure a couple of people have come up with it. So we're going for the Wild Rider Kindred, just to remind you, gives the unit Countercharge, Frenzy, Furious Charge, and the Talismanic Tattoos for a 6-up ward. So you're getting 6 attacks, basically. We're going to put him on a stag so he doesn't fall over immediately. And then we're going to give him... Where's it gone? Magic Weapons. The Dragon Slaying Sword. This gives you Monster Slayer. It also gives you no strength, no AP, no armor vein. So against anything other than monsters, you are bad. But against monsters, you're kind of swinging. We're going to combo that with the new Talisman, Orion's Favor. This is Paymaster's Coin on crack. Single use, you reroll hits and wounds during the combat phase. Great stuff. So you're just going to go in, and with full rerolls, you're probably going to force one... At minimum 1, but there's a good chance that you force 2 or 3 ward saves on the dragon. So this has a real... This is, I think, the highest chance in the game of monster slaying an enemy dragon, which is really nice to have, because you're going to struggle to deal with them in any other way. Perfect. So this unit's got the Banner of the Hunter King, which is the Vanguard banner. Let's give this one... Banner of the Wild Hunt, that's the reroll pursuit rules. I'm actually going to give them the Rampaging banner. I really want this unit to get into combat. So we're also going to give this unit Unit Champion, because it's probably the one that we're going to put the Dragon Slaying Sword into. But this character is good on its own, because if it's on its own, it's got 360 line of sight, and it makes it harder for the dragon to avoid. So we've got the 2 units of Wild Riders here, both with a banner, and we've got a unit of Glade Riders that is kind of just chilling. Honestly, might be protecting the Glade Lord, who hits hard enough to not need to worry them. What else do we want to fill the points out with? So we've got 376 points left. I mean, the obvious place to start is another unit of Wild Riders. That would go into special, so we're just going to go shield, 6, no upgrades. I think we probably want some screening units. I know we've got the Beast Packs. I think Beast Packs are bad at screening Wild Riders. Anyone who watched the tier list stream will have seen me try not to get sucked into an argument about them. The reason for this is, yes, Deepwood Hounds are fast. They move 9. This is great. So you've got 2 models that move 9 inches. However, they don't have Swift Stride. That means that the Wild Riders can charge significantly further than the Beast Packs. So if you put your Beast Pack in front of the Wild Riders, even if you string them out a little bit, there's going to be a spot where your opponent can get within like 17 inches of your Wild Riders, but they won't be able to charge potentially because they are tied back behind some Beast Packs that are over 15 inches away. 15 inches being their max declarable. Also, if they were at, 15 inches away from the Beast Pack and 19 away from the Wild Riders, so they were able to be charged, there's also a situation where the Beast Pack needs to roll a 6 on the charge, and if they fail, the Wild Riders potentially don't get in, depending on the angles. So I'm really concerned about using these as screening units. Also, if your opponent wants to kill them and make, frenzy bait the Wild Riders, 2 beasts, 2 wounds at T3 with no save, super easy to kill. So don't love them as screening units for the Wild Riders, but I do like Eagles as screening units for the Wild Riders. So let's put 3 of those in, because we've got 3 units of Wild Riders. And that puts us at 1972, so we're not far off here. I guess we just look at what have we got to spend on our remaining points. Didn't go with any Forest Bites here, so we can give them the Befuddlement of Mischief for the -1 weapon skill and initiative, which does put us 2 points over. So let's just look at cutting something that we don't need. I think we're going to struggle to cut something we don't need here. Points are a little bit skew if I don't really want to. Oh, no, sorry, hold on. I've got this the wrong way around. The Befuddlement of Mischiefs needs to go on the Glade Lord that's got the Dragon Slaying Sword. The reason being, then you hit on 3s. That's a big thing. Because if you're hitting on 3s re-rolling, you hit 8 out of 9 times. That's the maths on it. Whereas otherwise, you only hit 3 out of 4 times, which is a little bit worse. Here we go. So we've got that, and I do need to give them a shield as well, so we're actually 4 points over. In fact, let's give them a Charmed Shield. It was pointed out to me, so you'll see here, Wild Rider Kindred, just to show you why this works. It can only wear light armor, so specifically that means you can't wear heavy armor or full plate. You still get to carry a shield. That is a different wording that Games Workshop uses. I misunderstood that the first time around. So yeah, what are we doing? What are we doing to shave off some points? I don't really want to drop a Glade Rider, but we could do that. Maybe we just go, if we drop 1 Glade Rider, that frees up 13 points, at which point we could go Glade Knight in here, because we're probably going to bunker a character with them, and we can give 1 unit a Musician, which I think it's probably just going to be the Glade Riders as well, because they're more likely to be running away and need to rally than anyone else. Perfect. I think that's an interesting Wild Hunt list. We've got a Lord that can kind of deal with anything, a Lord that specifically deals with monsters. Like if you're playing against Gigantic Spawn, he's absolutely going to ruin their day. They have 360 move or the ability to charge stuff behind them. Yeah, me too. And I go a lot further than you on the charge. Don't worry about that. Spellsinger as well. This is more for fun than for good, but I think it's interesting. It gives you some level of dispel ability. You're not going to beat a level 4, but if they've got a lot of remains in play, you can be in range of them potentially to dispel on your turn. Joining the unit of Warhawk Riders who do have Impetuous, but they also have Furious Charge, so they're going to hit pretty hard. 3 units of Wild Riders, 1 with the Banner of the Hunter King for the Vanguard, 1 with the Rampaging Banner for rerolling charges. I wouldn't mind giving this the Banner of the Wild Hunt, but I don't know where we'd find 32 points to put that in. And then we've got the Beast Packs here, the nice chaff units, and then the Great Eagles. So this list is probably not going first, which means that you've got to deploy defensively and use some screening. So with that in mind, let's drop a Warhawk Rider. I'm just flexing things on the go. We're going to get rid of this Deepwood Hound, and we're going to go with a unit of this unit of this Beast Pack. So 2 Beastkeepers and 6 Forest Cats. This is going to be our sort of like aggressive screening unit. So these 2 are great. just for like being annoying. But this one we're probably going to put in front of our models. If our opponents have got like, if you're playing against Warriors of Chaos, for example, they go, I've got 2 very high value magic missiles and no other shooting that can reach you turn 1. This unit is fantastic because you can still put your Wild Riders almost on the line. You just put the Forest Cats in front of them and make it so that the Wild Riders aren't going to get blown up immediately. All right, that leaves us with 6 points. Now, do we need to tweak anything here? We could take the Musician off, and if I go up to 6, we're still 8 points over. I think we're just looking at a Musician somewhere else, but I don't really want to give one of the Wild Riders a Musician and not the others. I think we might just go... These 2 Stag Lords both cause fear, so they don't need to take terror tests to charge dragons, because it's the fear for when you charge, it's terror for when they charge you. Oh no, they would fear. Okay, so let's give this Glade Lord the Potion of Foolhardiness. I don't think he necessarily wants to charge Terror Causer, but if you need to spend that 5 points to do so, we have the 5 points here. Job's a good one. All right, well, thank you for watching. This has been a lot of fun to build some of the less optimal lists, and I'm going to play one of these 3. In the next couple of weeks, I will put a battle report up. Let me know in the comments which of the 3 lists you're more excited to see. Are you more excited to see A, pure Forest Spirits, B, Forest Spirits but kind of good, or C, Wild Hunt? I think all of these are actually going to be quite fun to play. I'd love to play something like this at a tournament. Like I said with the last one, I think this list could, if you got good pairings, maybe go 3-2 or 4-1. I think it's got more potential to do well, but also I think it's more at risk of bad pairings. You've got a lot of quite expensive elves who are very, very squishy, but if you manage to play it well, if you manage to dodge the things that is going to cause you issues, I actually think this plays much better into the meta than the Forest Spirits. Yeah, maybe this could go 4-1 at a tournament. I think you'd struggle to win a tournament with this, but I think it's interesting enough to play around with. Anyway, let me know. Do you want to see true Forest Spirits, good Forest Spirits, or the Wild Hunt detachment in a battle report coming over the next couple of weeks? Thank you for watching. Thank you for getting to the end of the video. If you've reached this point and you haven't already, I would really appreciate a like, a comment, a subscription if you haven't done those things. It just helps me get seen by more people, boost me up in the algorithm, all of the stuff that the YouTubers do like to say. If you would like to support me in my goal to become a full-time YouTuber, I would absolutely appreciate that. You can become a member below. There are various perks to those, name at the end of the videos, all that good stuff, but it also unlocks some VIP areas in Discord if you become a Longbeard or Ground Knight tier supporter. Those VIP sections are the only parts that are locked away in Discord. You don't have to be a member to join the Discord. I'd recommend that you should. We've got about 450, 500 people on there. It's a great place for discussion, a lot of fun. I do try and chime in as much as possible. And it's also where the Fix My List show lists are put, and also if you are one of the Grail Knight or Longbeard tier supporters, where you participate in choosing which list I play in the monthly Pick My List series.